Hey Agaho, and welcome to the Melee division, where the teams that were in 3rd and 4th last week are in 1st and 2nd this week. So, yeah, this is the GBA Season 7, Week 3. The Utah Jasmine, along with every other team in the division, are 1-1 with varying degrees of differential, but, that's how stuff works when 6-0s happen, like they did last week for Crimson. So, great start back to the league for him, and we're going to be trying today to keep him not on a winning streak. I'm not actually sure. He probably did in Season 5. I'm trying to think if Crimson's ever won back-to-back games. He probably has. I just don't remember them. But it's nice to have Crimson back. And yeah, we're going to try to see if this division can stop being a dumpster fire. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But Crimson's team, he actually had the wheel pick. He was the last expansion team that got added, so he wound up with the wheel pick. I don't know if that was actually related, but it was a thing that happened. And yeah, got a lot of good stuff, but we'll see what we can do about it. Again, stuff, we're gonna, I guess, say what's his full team. His full team is Tornadus, Therian, Sylveon, Entei, Krookodile, which is the Z captain, just swapped Slowbro for Slowking, which absolutely did not affect my prep whatsoever, Tsareena, Kyurem, Cobalion, new pickups Tentacruel and Dusknoir, and Magneton, who scares me greatly. Because, yeah, analytic boosted electric stuff is not a thing Manaphy wants to be taking, so, yeah, I think he had, Orcorio and Skuntank, and those got swapped out, so let's see what we want to bring against this. And we're finally bringing them off the bench this week, finally getting from Pokemon Ranger, straight out of 4th gen, because we got to be able to nickname them, hatch the egg and everything. We finally had Manaphy coming in, and we're kind of just using a probably semi-standard Manaphy set. It is the Z Captain, so sure enough, we're bringing Waterium Z for Z Rain Dance and Tail Glow, and it's going to be facilitated by somebody else, hopefully. Modest Max. I actually have the speed. I forget the exact speed stat normally, but after the Rain Dance speed boost, if you don't know what it does, Z Rain Dance raises your speed 1 level. That's why it's really good. It's basically Water Dragon Dance plus Safeguard, so that's kind of nice. I want to say it doesn't heal Confusion, but Confusion's irrelevant now, so whatever. Yeah, so he does outspeed Tornadus, Therian after the Rain Dance boost, and then the rest, I got some bulk EVs in there as well. We have, for the 2 attacks, we have Surf and Shadow Ball, because that hits everything neutrally. The most notable water resist being Slowbro. I want to make sure to hit that super effectively. I think Signal Beam was in contention, but Shadow Ball's a little bit stronger. And yeah, Tsareena exists, but it's Tsareena, so whatever. We'll bludgeon it down with a +3 Shadow Ball if we have to. So that's Manaphy. Finally getting off the bench. Mega Man hopefully will be coming through, charging some Mega Busters and doing some massive damage. Zapdos, speaking of things we haven't used before, Static Zapdos, which is bad because we can't nickname it Falzer, but it's Falzer in our hearts. So we do have a Static Zapdos. I finally have a plus Spadef Nature Zapdos, so we have Calm Zapdos coming in, mostly especially defensive. This is kind of our switch into Tornadus Therian, and the reason we have Static is because of folks who want to click the U-turn button. Like Tornadus Therian often wants to click the U-turn button because of, Regenerator, and cool, I get to do some damage switch out and I get to heal myself. He probably does not want to get Tornadus Therian paralyzed, so by switching in Zapdos, which is kind of my counter to it anyway, if I do take a U-turn, which I resist, then there's a chance I get a free Thunder Wave. Cool! Also, other things that might want to U-turn include Tsareena. That's another thing that gets U-turn, I believe. And that's probably one of the easiest switch-ins to Zapdos I will ever make in my life. On top of that, we have things like Cobalion Close Combat, I guess like Krookodile Knockoff too. That's a backdoor way to get Krookodile paralyzed. I'm pretty sure Static still works on ground types. I'm not 100% sure on that at this point in time. For attacks, we have Thunderbolt and Heat Wave, because we want to ideally be able to hit Cobalion, and yeah, it's just overall pretty okay. It doesn't hit Krookodile quite as hard as HP Ice would, but you see there, we also have U-turn, so nice. That'll actually hit Krookodile super effectively instead of getting blocked like Volt Switch would, so cool. We got Tech Loom again, not too awfully much to say there. We do have Spore this week. I don't think I had Spore against Chimp because of the Fortress. So I do have Spore this week, and other than that, just kind of standard Tech Loom attacks. I think I have very little speed this week, though, if any speed. I think it's like just enough to outspeed The base 70, yeah, if he runs like min speed Tsareena, I think I put like a couple in there to outspeed Tsareena, who is, I think is base 72. But yeah, other than that, I was like, there's not really any point in running some speed, so I'll just run it in bulk because Breloom's actually a great switch into Krookodile if it doesn't run Aerial Ace, as it resists both of its stabs as well as Stone Edge, so utilizing that defensive typing a little bit there. And other than that, just Life Orb, I think it's last time. Scrafty coming again this week. We got Moxie this time, mostly to deal with, Krookodile Intimidate, maybe? Sure. We got Dragon Dance. Muscle Band is probably not the best held item, but I wanted a little bit of extra damage because I'd like to get 2 Dragon Dances. I don't know if I can. Potentially I can. But I need some extra damage in there to kind of lock up a Sylveon KO, assuming that gets brought, which I have Scrafty and Breloom, so I'm thinking it maybe will, but I think I originally had a little bit more HP and very little speed, kind of banking on getting 2 DDs, but in the end I decided to change it. I'll put enough speed in there to, with a +1, I outspeed Kyurem, because Kyurem and Krookodile are 2 things that I would definitely like to be able to outspeed and KO with super effective Drain Punch. So I felt like that was kind of worth it. We'll see if it ends up to bite me in the buns or not. But yeah, just Drain Punch, Knock Off, and Iron Head. Klefki has dual screens this week with Light Clay, so we can hopefully, facilitate those 2 guys who are trying to set up in sweep, Manaphy and Scrafty. Hopefully we can just get one of those, and then Klefki dies, one of them comes in, gets to set up, with 2 moves, and then just go to town and sweep. That's kind of the hope and the dream. The last time I tried that was against Shady in Season 2. Did not work out very well whatsoever. But Crimson doesn't have a Defogger, which is probably the most common move to remove screens, so we can but hope. Finally not playing against a fast electric type, notably a Thundurus, so we can bring T-Wave. And our other move is not an attacking move. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but that means we have no attack, so clearly it's a bad set. But, we'll see what we can do with this garbage set. I think we're max physically defensive bold. Sounds correct. And then, which one is Swellow going to be? What the? That's right, we're going to blow people's eardrums to smithereens. Once again, we got Scrappy this week. I think I actually had Guts last week because there was no Ghost, but we do have Scrappy this week just in case of Dusknoir. And we'll look into what he brought now, as hopefully Swellow can pick up some more KOs, because Boom Burst Swellow is freaking great. He has Krookodile, Kyurem, Tsareena, Cobalion, Tornadus Therian, and Slowbro. So, looking at this, I see no Tentacruel, which I was a little concerned about because I don't really want to be taking, Specs Tentacruel scared the heck out of me in prep, and it's just not here at all, so awesome. I didn't really think he would bring Noir, but no Sylveon, so that means Scrafty's stock is way, way, way up. I don't have to worry about not killing things with Scrafty, so cool. We look at that team right there. Scrafty can super effective stab to 4 of the guys, and then the other 2 he can get on with if he's got a DD or 2. And then also no Magneton, which is great because that was kind of going to be Manaphy's, the bane of Manaphy's existence kind of. It's going to either Scarf and outspeed it, I can run Eviolite and, maybe tank a hit unless, or, it can also have Sturdy, so it might just tank the hit anyway. So I'm very pleased to not see those guys. In fact, I think with the exception of maybe throwing Dusknoir on there, I think this might be the 6 he could have brought that I am most okay with going up against. Almost everything he left on the bench I would have been a little bit more scared of, but I guess there are also a couple of things that I thought were locks, so such as Torrent, even though Zapdos hopefully will be able to shut it down. So as for what we're going to lead out with, I think I'm actually going to opt for Breloom. The reason is that I don't want Krookodile coming out right out of the gate. I did not bring a way to remove hazards. I've got a couple of 2 birds that are weak to rocks, so I would like to be able to threaten out Krookodile right away rather than, have it in there versus Dose. Yes, I can U-turn, but then I either, I risk a Stone Edge on Dose, or I just, rocks come up for free. So that's why we're going to lead out with Breloom, and we'll see how it goes. So, given that we're going to be leading out with Breloom, the #1 guy I don't want to see right off the bat, I guess would be Tornadus Therian, but again, I guess also we have a switch into Torrentine, so it's going to be Kazagen though, which is Tornadus Therian, so oh well. Would have been well better off to lead off with Zapdos to fire off probably a U-turn to be honest, but whatever. Maybe this goads him into going for U-turn, because he won't potentially be afraid of Scarf Zapdos. So we'll see if we can U-turn. He's not going to U-turn. He's just going to go right in for Hurricane. And I'm sure he can see by that damage that Zapdos is predominantly specially defensive. So that means that, assuming he's predominantly physical, not like Tornti has a decent physical move pool. It's got like knockoff and stuff to it and superpower. So it certainly could be hitting with physical moves, but at least they're probably not going to be stab. I guess it only has one type to be stab, huh? So going in for T-Bolt right away seems kind of silly because he's still got Crook in the back, and that's definitely something I want to U-turn against. So we see no Intimidate, so that's nice. That means my U-turns are actually going to be doing a decent amount of damage. Except I realized this time in game that I got Zapdos to 100 to Hyper Train it, and I completely forgot to Hyper Train attack. So Zapdos is over here chilling with like a 8 attack IV, because it's U-turn. It's not there for damage. It's just for switch initiative on Zapdos, right? So that was a bit silly. We'll see if that comes into play later, but this was about the time in the game where I realized that. Anyway, so we just go right into the Split Mushroom here, and I don't want rocks up. I don't want anything stupid to happen. If he wants to go back into Torn T, fine. I can do the same thing and whatever. Instead he goes into Cosmo Queen, and there you go. Whoever made the bold prediction that Tsareena would negate a priority move, there you go. You got it. So Queenly Majesty negates Mach Punch. It does save me Life Orb recoil, so that's good. But I just easy go back into Zapdos, and this is a guy that has U-turn, a girl that has U-turn, and no static there. It means that I can't Spore freely because Tsarena's also going to avoid Spore. So Tsarena's actually pretty good at switching to Breloom. I'd have to like Rock Tomb, and even that I don't know that it would 2-hit KO because Tsareena is reasonably bulky. So here's this guy, and I want to hit this guy. He could Stone Edge me, but I want to hit him. I want to Heat Wave him, and I do Heat Wave him as he sets up Stealth Rock. So cool, that thing is now very clearly in range for Breloom Mach Punch. That was sort of the intent and goal right there. And I guess also if he wouldn't go into, he brought this into Zapdos off the U-turn for a reason. So yeah, I think I just go, what do I go here? I should go Thunderbolt is what I should go because it's a nice, cover, or at least U-turn, but instead, for whatever reason, I pick Heat Wave as a kind of a middle ground because U-turn wouldn't KO Cobalion if he stayed in. Heat Wave would at least hit Krookodile, and T-Bolt would have gotten blocked, so ends up, though, that I could have picked either other attack, and I would have been fine against Slowbro. So I believe, what do we do here? So the number one thing I'm thinking he's going to do is Toxic, because based on that damage, he is not Spit F, he is not Assault Vest, because that was a Heat Wave from a not offensive Zapdos, and that actually, did damage that I can see. I'm definitely fearing Toxic, and he's going to go back into Crook, and I do want to get those Toxic. I want to get as much damage bludgeoned on that thing as possible right now, because if it's not going to be especially defensive, then T-Bolt, it's not going to knock it out most likely, but it's got to put it down to where, one Regenerator is still going to keep him in kill range for a lot of stuff. So I decided to change the T-Bolt right there rather than U-turn, which would have been super effective, but would have done not very much at all. And now here we have Crook in, and I didn't get to U-turn initiative on it, so we're going to hard switch into Breloom in case he's Scarfed or just faster than me. And he's got the Z-move going on, which is going to be the Dark Z-move, Black Hole Eclipse, and I'm presuming Knockoff to be the base. And yeah, that Breloom tanks it because we did put a decent chunk of HP investment in there, and just the useful resistances as I was mentioning earlier against Krookodile. So unfortunately, I don't know that that's a guaranteed kill with Mach Punch from that much damage. I kind of wish I had that 31 attack IV from Hyper Training, but oh well. Again, I think we're just gonna do the same thing. If he wants to do the same thing, which he does, goes back into Tsareena and blocks Mach Punch again. But again, I guess that's 20% HP damage I've saved by not clicking, actually executing Mach Punch. So again, same deal as last time, and he doesn't have, he has rocks up now. There we go. There's my static proc activating. I kind of wanted it on someone who's really fast, such as Tornadus, Therian, or I guess Cobalion maybe, though it's only going to be, I think, close combat. I guess maybe Ironhead, whatever. I don't know what kind of Cobalion it's going to be just yet. I know it's not very defensive because I wrecked it with Heat Wave earlier, so I'm thinking it's going to be some kind of an offensive one, and we get dosed back up to close to 50% after rocks when it comes back in. So I got a lead from Kyurem. There's no way I can do anything against a Kyurem here. So as you saw week 1, our designated Kyurem switch in is Klefki. So This one is not going to be as threatening a big, bad, mean, neutral hitting Bolt Strike, so we'll see what it wants to do. It wants to drop a Meteor, and Klefki just dissipates meteors that come falling down on its key-shaped noggin right there. So I think at this point I'd like to go ahead and start setting up screens, preferably light screen, in case he starts, you know, going in for Earth Power. So we set up light screen first as Yogurl wants to come in, and I think we're just going to set up Reflect. I don't really know what Tsareena wants to do to Klefki. Probably whatever she wants to do, because she the queen, yo. But we're just going to set up Reflect, and maybe take a high jump kick or something. That would at least be neutral, right? So out comes Reflect, and we get a full para. Cool! That's what Static was meant to do, I guess. But now, as I mentioned earlier, this is the easiest switch ever into Zapdos. So, yeah, we're going to go into Zapdos. We still don't know anything about the held item on the Tsareena either, so I'm assuming it has Rapid Spin, but I didn't bring hazards outside. No, I didn't bring spikes. I have no hazards on this team, so I guess that's good. We made hazard removal kind of pointless. But right there, that could have been a U-turn. That would have been bad, but we got back-to-back paras, so I guess that is a good thing. We'll see if it comes back to bite me momentarily, but I get Dose back up to full life, and that's pretty sweet. I don't know that he was clicking U-turn against Klefki, but I guess you can see on his side. So anyway, Kyurem comes back in, and at least Dose is now... The thing about that exchange, basically all that happened was that Zapdos got back to full HP instead of being at 75% HP, so that's kind of all that happened along... Well, and I got screens up, so that was kind of helpful too. So there, he thinks I'm going back into Klefki and wants to Earth Power. I decided to just stay in and hit the thing because I need a little bit of damage on it in order for Breloom to be alright. And I got Light Screen up, so Spadef Dose should be able to take it. However, I missed back-to-back Heat Waves, which is back-to-back 10%, so I guess that makes up for back-to-back 25%, except that my Heat Wave misses were not terribly relevant because one was on a Slowbro and one was on a Kyurem that I wasn't going to do maybe 25% to, so... I don't know, maybe good, maybe bad, but whatever, it happened. As I mentioned before, I want to get massive damage off on this thing. I decided at this point, do I want to get Dose Toxic? That's, I'm sure, what he's going for if he's staying in exchange for a lot of Slowbro's life, and I decided, yes, that is a trade I want to make at this point in time. Zapdos isn't, because I'm not sub-bruised, I'm not sub-bruised, am I? I don't think I'm sub-bruised. Probably not. Maybe I'm sub-bruised. I've forgotten my own set. Anyway, at this point in the game, I was pretty convinced that Zapdos is not going to be staying in here for, like, more than 4 turns at a time, I feel like, so, which kind of sucks, you know, with the rocks up and no way to remove them, but, we do what we can. And there I decided, alright, he's not going to just sack off the Slowbro. He's got Regenerator. We're just going to U-turn, and Croc comes back in. And I think we're going to continue to do... No, we're not. Here we can just go right into Swellow. And now because we got some boys weakened, Swellow's going to get a kill one way or the other. Somebody's going to die. Kyurem, I think, is the only thing that can actually live a hit from full. Maybe Tornadus, depending. But I believe we saw Life Orb, so it's probably not defensively invested. I was definitely afraid of Assault Vest under us. But, see how... Boom Burst. Destroy the Slowbro in one shot. And... Awesome. Swellow got another KO. So, is that the first? I brought one freaking wall on this team, and we've gone close to half the time, and that was the first KO? Whatever. Anyway, this guy comes in, and he brings this in, and from the way he brings it in, it's gotta be Scarfed, but he also did Stealth Rock. But Scarf Stealth Rock is like a GBA staple from Season 2, so I'm calling him out right now. He's Scarf Stealth Rock, but... if this thing is Scarf, then that's like one thing that Swellow I'd like to be able to kill that it can't. So my decision is, you know what? If he's Scarf, so be it. Like, I'm just gonna chance Swellow right here and either call the bluff or, you know, we'll let Swellow go down because whatever. He Volt Switches, so he is Scarfed. And we wait. What? What? Swellow, you were naive. You are minus special defense nature and tank a Volt Switch from a Scarf Cobalion, presumably that is fairly offensive, inclined anyway, and live on 5%. So Swellow is just sitting there, and I can only imagine he wasn't expecting Swellow to live. I wasn't expecting Swellow to live, and now someone's gonna get the Boom Burst in the face, which is gonna be Tsareena, which is paralyzed. We finally see leftovers, and that's gonna get 2 KO'd as well. Yeah, Tsareena or Kyurem would have got 2 KO'd. Thunder Armor Swellow! happened this week in the GBA. And it's a wonderful thing, and Swellow picks up a second KO, but now, of course, he is going to be easily able to go into Cobalion and just revenge me with move of choice. He's seen Stealth Rock, he almost certainly has Stone Edge, so just going to go for the not going to miss Volt Switch, and as opposed to, missing the Stone Edge. So look at the crowd in the background, by the way, guys. The crowd's like bopping up and down. They're excited for Thunder Armor Swell. They just witnessed, so I hope you guys are excited too. And see, he's Volt Switching, so he's got to pick a guy to go into, which is going to be Bird, which is going to prompt me to go into my Bird, and we'll see what I do from there. It's going to be my Bird. I know it's going to be my Bird. There we go. There's the best Bird. Best Bird Zapdos. I got a couple of options here, mostly wanting to U-turn. The main reason I wouldn't want to U-turn is because I want a Roost. I perpetually want Zapdos with full HP. And when you have rocks in the field, that's just a nice thing that I don't get to have. So that's unfortunate. He could also go into Kyurem, and whether he goes into Kyurem or Crook, he's not going to stay in with Tornadus because he's just not. I already wrecked one Regenerator Wall with with T-Bolt, but Swellow going 2-1, so getting some positive value out of our second best Bird on the team. As nope, psych, I do actually want to Roost because I want Dose at full life. So more importantly, I want it at 75% when it comes back in, more so than I want it at 50% when it comes back in, and then maybe Torn can actually two-shot it, and I don't like that. So we still got Breloom hanging around, who can, well, probably at the range. I mean, he tanked a Black Hole Eclipse, so I'm not going to expect him to take another hit necessarily. But I just decided to stay in, and Earthquake. I have not been keeping track of screens for you guys, by the way. So, because I don't know how much having screens up. I'm sure, of course, because there's actually a counter now on the game. You can actually, check and see how many turns are left. I don't know if it actually shows the opponent, if you have Light Clay or not. But yeah, so he probably figured that. As soon as I set the second one up, I'm sure he assumed I had Light Clay anyway. So we're just going to U-turn, and yeah, so I would expect I'm actually not sure what that Earthquake was for. But as I'm not going to hard switch into Klefki. But anyway, as it is, Dose gets out scot-free. We get a Reflect Up. And I think at this point, we're going to attempt to go in on somebody. We're going to set up dual screens once again. And I kind of hoped I could live this EQ to do the third move. But I didn't get to do it, which might actually end up to work out okay. However, I forget about Moxie, which I saw he wasn't Intimidate. So obviously he's going to be Moxie. He's not going to be Anger Point. And that's going to maybe make it a bit more difficult. So I got two guys I can go into here. I can start Dragon Dancing with Scrafty, or I can go into Manaphy and start trying to click Tail Glow. But I'm running some calcs, and I'm assuming this is now a very offensive Krookodile, based on the fact that not max attack Zapdos U-turn actually was doing quite a bit. And by the way, if I was max attack Zapdos, that Krookodile would totally be dead right now. But we'll see if it would have been good or bad for that to have happened. So, oh well, debate between Tail Glow and Surf, and I think I'm actually just gonna go Surf. I just want to go ahead and make sure I get the Krookodile KO, because I think Earthquake with the Moxie is gonna do a little bit too much, even through Reflect. So I think I time out there, but I intended to click Surf. Thankfully, I clicked Surf because he clicked Taunt, so Tail Glow would have been a terrible move to go for there. I believe Z moves do go through Taunt, so I could have used Z Rain Dance, but that wasn't really a factor on my mind, because the main thing I need to bludgeon more is Kyurem, and Z Rain Dance doesn't really help me against Kyurem, so yeah, so now Kyurem can come in, I'm presuming, because he doesn't know the rest of my set. All he's seen is Surf. He can probably assume that I'm some form of setup, because Manaphy usually is, so. But so anyway, Surf takes out the Krookodile that probably should have been dead to U-turns, 3 U-turns, but it wasn't, so. So here's Kyurem, and as I mentioned, I only have enough speed to outspeed a Tornadus after a Rain Dance, so I'm not outspeeding the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I guess I could have Z-Rain just for the speed. That could have well worked out as well. Might have been okay. But whatever. So I can't Tail Glow here, and yeah, actually, you know what, that actually probably would have been well better. Just thought of that now. Anyway, Meteor's going to come, we have Light Screen up, and doesn't matter because he's going to get a critical hit, and Manaphy gets to take 1 KO and then promptly exit the building. So, sorry Manaphy, you went 1-1. We tried. So, so much for the setting up behind light screens gig. That didn't work out very well again. But we do still have screens up, and at this point, I'm thinking he's probably Specs, because there was a point earlier, I don't know if I mentioned, where he Earth-powered predicting Clefty to come in and then just switched out. So I'm thinking this boy must be Spexed. He could well stay in for another Meteor here because he is Spexed, and you know, it partially negates the thing, so... but I believe I am going to opt for Drain Punch. And make a note that I have a little bit of Rocks damage there, by the way. I got, what, 8 points of Rocks damage because I do resist it. So I think I opt for Drain Punch. I don't want to knock off. I don't want to knock off, even though I think Torn is likely to come in because I potentially might be able to set up later and then like a plus whatever knockoff. I want the boosted damage on knockoff for later. I also would like to have him hurt himself with Life Orb more. So we do Drain Punch and get some damage on there. Iron Head probably would have been a better middle ground play to deal a. I don't think it would have it certainly would not have 2-hit KO'd. But would have done a little bit more. Would have had him have a dent at least when he comes back in with Regenerator. So yeah, so but we do get back up to full life on that, and keep a note of that we regained 8 hit points right there. So that's something to keep in mind. We're gonna go back into Zapdos because that is our designated switch into Torn T. I've been able to keep it up very nice and healthy with roosts and whatnot, so we still got screens up, I believe, and he's not going to set up a Tailwind. I'm not entirely sure why, because I believe at this point his entire team outspeeds my entire team. I know that. He doesn't necessarily know that, depending on how much he's read into my speeds of stuff, but everything on my team has, like, no speed EVs, so, well, no significant speed EVs right off the gate before Dragon Dancing, so... I am, however, just going to U-turn, and we get a little bit of chip damage on there, but that's still not quite enough for Breloom Mach Punch range. That missed Heat Wave earlier is kind of kicking me in the buns right there. Though I suppose also at this point he could also well just go into Torn on Mach Punch and not take too much, so might not have been that big a deal anyway. Here I believe I decide to Iron Head as Aaron takes a meteor. Aaron takes a meteor. She'll always be Aaron to me. It's female, right? Yeah, it's female. It's got to be Aaron. So Reflect wears. We have one more turn of Light Screen. He's got half special attack. That did a chuffing butt ton. But I'm just going to go Knock here, as we did finally at least get a lot of damage off on the thing to where, I don't know, maybe something good can happen. Meteor comes. I live on 4 hit points. Picks up the knockout on the thing that Dose can't kill because it outspeeds and has specs, ice beams, and stuff. Gets Moxie, that's not going to matter, but another clutch live. First by Swellow, and now by Scrafty with 4 hit points. Remember when I Drain Punched earlier? That would have been nice. Though I suppose I also could have Iron Headed and then Drain Punched this turn, so I needed to Drain Punch one of the 2 turns, but anyway, being at as much HP as I was at... well, the thing is, though, if I had Drain Punched that turn, I don't think he would have stayed in expecting it to kill, though at the same time he didn't really have a great switching for knockoff on the subsequent turn anyway. Because with the Drain Punch the second time around, I would have been at much higher HP, so I don't think he would have chanced it. He might have, but just to get a lot of damage on there. But I don't know. It looked cooler anyway to Drain Punch the first time. So here, it's still a bit dicey because Dose is under 50%. I feel like I need to Roost. I'm Toxic, and also the time is starting to tick down. But I feel like I need to Roost just to feel safe. I just don't feel safe. Dark Pulse can flinch. I don't flinch. Alright, so we get Roost up, and I think, though, it can probably still, with Toxic, still 2-hit KO, so I need to get this move off. Also, this was just because my Dose is not attack invested, special attack invested, that is. I needed, or I wanted, that extra 10% of Life Orb recoil on there, but Dose is able to pick up the KO with the Torn being at 80%, and from here it's going to be good game because we do have Breloom in the back. He's going to probably have to hit a Stone Edge here. And if he does, it's going to be a 1-0 for me. He does, so we don't get the 2-0 from him missing a Stone Edge, but it doesn't matter. We get Mach Punch in here with Breloom, the lead, picking up the last KO of the game, and that is a good game, Crimson. We took it down to the wire. We were, however, able to finish in 60 minutes. And super tight game. All of our games have been tight this season, but it's going to be a 1-0. We're going to move to 2-1. Winning record. Negative differential. Where have I seen this before? Anyway, it was a great game, Crimson. Obviously, very close as it being a 1-0. The end game there was really neat. Maybe not that neat, but I had to keep Breloom around for Cobalion. It was the only thing I had that could beat Koba. I had to keep Zapdos around in order to beat Tornadus, and like Zapdos couldn't beat Kyurem, and Breloom couldn't beat Tornadus. So Scrafty kind of had to be in there as like a, well, it still couldn't really beat Tornadus, but you know, it could at least hit Tornadus for some decent damage on the switch-in, whereas I'd be going for Mach Punch or Breathing, which would not. So the crit on Manaphy was very interesting because, you know, obviously it crit through Light Screen, so it would have done, you know, Light Screen would have halved it, but then the crit did even more further than that. So it would have done less than half, but I don't have the calc in front of me right now to see exactly how much it did. The thing is though, because like Light Screen wore out at like kind of the perfect time, or like it stayed up just exactly as long as I needed it to. If I had like somehow wasted another turn with Manaphy, because I feel like all Manaphy would have ended up doing was just getting some Shadow Ball chip damage on Kyurem, which would have put it in range for Mach Punch, granted. But as long as Torntee's there to keep switching in on it, and you know I can't make headway on it because of Regenerator. I don't necessarily know that it was necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know. Things worked out as they did. And I would much rather be 2-1 with a negative differential than 1-2 with a positive differential, which I think is what Crimson is right now still because of the 6-0 last week. So 2 1-0 losses and 1 6-0. So that's still a pretty good start. At least the differential's good. But yeah, so Pokemon of the game, again, I don't really have one. I guess if I was gonna give it to anyone, it would probably be Swellow, because Swellow was fun to do edits for this video, so I had a lot of fun doing that. Um, yeah, no one really swept or was a super duper stonewall effective against the entire team. Zapdos is pretty solid, but you know Zapdos is generally always pretty solid because it's Zapdos. It's the best bird. So that'll loop for this game though. So also after this game, prepping for the next game because there's a poke called Tapu Bulu. We made some roster adjustments. So looking ahead, I decided, all right, Swellow and Darmanitan, are doing kind of the same thing of like and breaking things, but my issue is that I felt like with my messed up speed tiers, every week I'm going to want to bring Darmanitan Scarfed, and I don't like doing that because it's going to get super predictable. On top of that, because I'm bringing Scarfs into Life Orb, like I can't actually like 2-hit KO bulky waters like Darm is advertised as being able to do. And I just felt like, wow, each one of these matchups, I think I'd rather bring Swellow than Darm. So I had to drop somebody, and I felt like Darmanitan was the most redundant thing on the team with Swellow. So I ended up dropping that and picking up Golbat, who actually, you know, takes CB Woodhammers pretty well. Along with that, we also got Defog on the poke that I'll actually be okay running Defog on. So we finally have some usable hazard clear, and that's good. And on top of that, Golbat can also like wall break in its own way with Taunt and Super Fang and stuff. So it's certainly not as quick and dirty as Darmanitan does, but you know, Taunt and all that good stuff is nice too. It also gives, I felt like this team was like lacking like half a wall from being where I wanted it to be, so adding Golbat kind of does that. However, that also mega amplifies our weakness to ice and electric. So sorry, Comfey, I drafted you to be in Aromatherapist, and every time I made a set that involved you, it was not Aromatherapy anywhere on it. So let's grab a cleric who actually is resistant to Bolt Beam, which is a very rare thing to be. So we're also grabbing Lantern over Comfey. Potentially I could have waited on Lantern, or maybe not, because I might want him next week. I'm not quite yet sure. But yeah, so we dropped Darmanitan and Comfey. Sorry guys who really love Comfey, but I'm still interested in using it, just it didn't fit. I drafted it to be an aromatherapist, and it's not fulfilling that role like I want it to. So at least we can get an aromatherapist that covers the massive bolt beam weakness that we kind of now have. Granted, most teams can have a massive bolt beam weakness, but you know, it's a thing. So Lantern is solid. It's also a slow volt switcher, which is good for getting in guys like Swellow. So lots of good stuff there. So that was the 2 roster changes that probably will be up on the GBA channel. So that's my explanation for it probably before that video actually airs. But anyway, maybe anyway. But yeah, so that'll do it. So next week, I'm gonna flash this slide up here, and yeah, video coming tomorrow with more. Later days.